This is a production of KMmedia.pro. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. Our goal is simple: to explore evolving ideas one conversation at a time. So come on over into our world. I know you'll like it, because on today's show, simple is a relative term. I think we're going to be talking about AI and all of its uses, and somebody who actually knows something about it is going to explain it to me. It may take a while, but we'll figure it out. First of all, Eric, how are you today, sir?
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, Kevin. I'm doing fine.
It's hot in my house.
It's a toasty week for us. Of course, we got that heat advisory in effect until about 11 o'clock tonight. So hopefully you've got some kind of AC. And if not, then, I'd recommend visiting your local library or one of the other many places with air conditioning around the Northwest that you can find some refuge if you're getting a little too much heat in your life.
Now, you mentioned that there's a number that you can call. What is that number again?
There is a number. You can call 211, and they can point you in the direction of, cooling centers.
That's really handy right there. So 211 for that, 811 to if you're having a crisis and in a personal crisis, and you can get some help with that as well. So 211 to find a place where it's cool in your area.
True.
That's really cool. Eric, you're a techie kind of guy. Do you know anything about AI?
Just what I'm hearing in the news. And of course, we all have a little bit of experience with it. And we've got, like Siri on our iPhones, and there's Alexa and all that kind of stuff. So I imagine that's, a rudimentary version of AI. I know that much about it, but I would not consider myself an expert by any stretch. And I know that, this is a big part of the writers and actors strike right now, too, that's going on because people are afraid their jobs are going to be taken away by AI. And, there's something to that as well.
And even bus drivers are talking about that, believe it or not.
I believe it.
So it's the times they be it. Who was it? Bob Dylan, who wrote "Times They Be a Changin'."
That's right. Yes.
Yes, indeed. So I'd like to bring on Mitch Parfit. He is co-hosting the show. I brought him on because he is liable to know a lot more about this than I do, and so he can kind of help me go through the whole thing. But I've been told that the gentleman that we have on is going to be. He talks about it in terms that all of us young folks can understand. It's ChatGPT, and it is ChatGPT simplified. So, Mitch, are you there, my friend?
I'm here now.
Oh,
good. A little dead spot. I don't know what's going on over here. The heat, something's not playing nice with my internet connection.
Oh, well, we'll hope that it'll hold up for the entire show, because and that's possible because it is hot outside. Our guest today, who I want to introduce now, his name is Richard Rosser. He's a filmmaker, an author, and an educator. He's honed his skills on TV shows like Grey's Anatomy and This Is Us, one of my favorite shows of all time, MacGyver. MacGyver.
Are you thinking of MacGyver?
It's hot.
MacGyver, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Somebody get Kevin a cold lemonade.
I think MacGyver may be the AI version of MacGyver. It's kind of a knockoff. It doesn't quite have that human feel.
Oh, goodness gracious. And also 24. And he's written an award-winning book and has developed programs to empower individuals to express themselves through AI-enhanced storytelling. So with that, let's bring Richard and talk about MacGyver, whoever.
Richard, MacGyver, McGuire, MacGruber, it's all the same, right, guys?
Welcome to the show, sir. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Hey, Mitch, how's it going?
Great. Good to meet you, Richard.
you've been busy in the television business and doing other things, and you're also an award-winning author. And what got you excited about AI?
Well, I am a storyteller at heart. And I've been working in the TV business for 30 some odd years, telling stories professionally. And a few years ago, I started teaching workshops about creative writing, storytelling, and then I started consulting with startups. And we were talking about how important story and storytelling is. And I've been working with a tech school, a career tech school in Oklahoma, where I grew up. And they contacted me and said, "We love your approach to storytelling. And we have a class that we love for you to come up with and teach. It's storytelling for trainers." And I said, "Fantastic, let's go." And I hung up the phone and then I said, "Okay, wait, I don't know anything about training or trainers." And I was belaboring, I was trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to come up with this course and this workshop. And a friend of mine, this is last January, a friend of mine said, "Oh, stop your belly aching. Go on to ChatGPT and type in, how do you create a course or a workshop, storytelling for trainers, and press return. Watch what happens." So I did, and it spit out all sorts of information. Now, some of the information was total crap, to be blunt, and some of it was fantastic. And so I took the crap, threw that away, and I kept the good stuff. And I came up with this workshop about storytelling for trainers. And then as I was working on outlining and fleshing out the workshop, I thought, these folks are trainers. They're not really storytellers. And they may enjoy telling a story, but they may be a little freaked out by having to come up with a story out of whole cloth. And so I actually, sort of to get meta, I created a little section within this workshop of how to use ChatGPT to create stories for trainers. And so I just fell in love with this technology in terms of its ability to help me brainstorm and outline, organize, and even in some cases create content. And so that's really the genesis of how I started using ChatGPT. And as I dove in, I realized that it's really an incredible technology for all sorts of creative uses.
You are in the film industry and in the arts and have been for a very long time. And right now we have a strike going on by the writers as well as the actors have joined in. And so now everybody seems to be on strike. What do you think we're going to have to do to get past that? Or is AI really the boogeyman that they are kind of saying it is?
Well, if you watch the news or if you watch the Terminator, Skynet is going to take over the world. And, with the news, look, the news sells more soap when they glom onto stuff that freaks people out. And it's a proven technique that negativity sells. Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all these companies know that the negative keeps folks churning and talking. And the positive, if you fix a problem, well, then the problem's done. You can move on, go on your way, right? And so there's a little bit of blowing everything out of proportion. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some basic tenets to what the writers are talking about and what the actors are talking about with regard to AI. Personally, I view AI as a tool, similar to a calculator for a mathematician or an engineer. I mean, you can't expect an engineer who's working on a rocket to put a SpaceX rocket up into space using a pad of paper and a pencil. And they need either a calculator or a high intensity computer program that can help them with those formulas. Well, same thing creatively. I mean, now we're trying to turn around creative books and movies and scripts, et cetera, so quickly that and on most of the times on a shoestring budget that it really helps to have something to bounce ideas off of. And so that's one of the main things that I've realized is the value of ChatGPT specifically and AI in general, is its ability to help me, well, everyone for that matter, be creative, brainstorm, outline things. And so I think that ultimately There will be facets of the film and TV business, bus driving business, any business that is going to be influenced by AI. Now, whether or not it's going to take over, I tend to doubt that. But and ultimately that's what the writers and the screen actors are fighting for, is to make sure that it doesn't simply replace them. And there are elements of the business, background players. There's talk of just photographing a background player from all the angles, and then they go on their merry way, never get another day of work, and the studio can then use their image for background scenes, crowd scenes. And I certainly don't think that's fair, but it's weighing the cost versus the analysis, right, and the benefit, and so things are going to change. And unfortunately, or fortunately, AI is here to stay, and it's just a question of how we use it moving forward. And it can, just like any tool, it can be used for positive, it can be used for negative.
Exactly. And by the way, Mitch, apparently I have the whole style of Positive Talk Radio all mixed up. I need to start the show Negatives Talk Radio and put that on Fox. That's what I need to do. Then I'll sell lots of soap.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
So what do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, no, I think it's like what Richard's saying. I think it's an amazing tool. Like you referenced, like using a calculator thing. I think it's one of those things that's new. We have to look at the different ways that we're using it, the pros and the cons. And I also think there's different levels. Like, you could essentially use Chat GBT to write a whole complete story for you. But like what Richard said, even in his findings, is that, he found a lot of garbage in there, had to pull it out, kept the good. And so I think that there's a lot of things that can be used now. We're in the beginning stages of a lot of some of these things, and it just keeps expanding and it's growing. And I'm sure as time goes on, things will get more articulate. But there is always that, that raw, coming from somebody that wrote something, from beginning to end. To me, I like that authentic piece of it. And I think that Chat GBT is great for a number of things, but in certain industries or certain things that you're trying to do, I think that, sticking to a more organic, authentic self or whatever that looks like, that, in my opinion, I want to read and I want to see stuff from that versus something that I know that AI built. And there's a lot of other things that you can use it for that are just perfect, that are great. And it's amazing. So it's a roller coaster of depending on what you're looking at.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people are they're really concerned that ChatGPT is going to reduce us all to sort of blithering robots, and it's going to reduce all of our communication to mush. And think about this. So Mitch, if you have a prompt, which is essentially, for those who are uninitiated, a prompt is really just a question that you type into the window in ChatGPT, you hit that, and then it generates a response. So Mitch, if you say, oh, I've got this great prompt, I just use it to write a blog post. Richard, you can have it, take it and use it on your own. And I use it to write a blog post. Even though our blog posts may be about different subjects, they may sound very similar because I use the same exact prompt. Now, if I take that prompt and I personalize it, I tweak it, I customize it so it reflects my own personality, then I say, okay, infuse it with a certain energy and humor, and also use some pop culture references. All of a sudden, I've taken the prompt that Mitch gave me and I've personalized it in a way that it really sort of echoes my own personal writing style, right? And so then all of a sudden, when I use it to write a blog post, the blog post is going to be really different. It's really going to reflect my own personality, my own individuality. And so I think, just like, look, think about the burger wars back in the 50s and 60s, when McDonald's and Burger King, sort of took over and put all the mom and pop burger stands out of business. They were able to produce burgers incredibly quickly, but they tasted the same. And that's part of the allure, right? But for those of us who want, a really nice burger, something to sink our teeth into, McDonald's isn't necessarily it, right? It's every day sort of the same. You know what you're going to get when you walk in the door. But it's the same sort of thing when we talk about using a tool like ChatGPT to enhance our creativity. And again, I view this as a tool through a storyteller's lens. And so I think of ChatGPT enhancing my creativity as opposed to replacing my creativity. And ultimately, I'm the critical thinker in the mix, right? ChatGPT, it's taking from the billions and billions of pages that it's read and stored in its memory, and it's basically putting together something from all of that. But I'm the one who's ultimately going to decide, oh, this works or it doesn't within what I'm trying to say.
Well, it works really well because when and the book that you've written, by the way, we're talking with Richard Rosser. He's written the book, Chat GBT Simplified, I like this part, non-tech beginner's guide to understanding AI. Because, and you're right, even though it's a computer program, you have to ask the right questions. I've tried this. And I haven't learned yet how to ask the right questions to get the response that I'm actually looking for. Does your book address that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, if we step back a second and look at the learning process objectively, right? Learning is an iterative process. I mean, you don't just wake up one morning and go from not being able to read to being able to read Harry Potter. It's a process where you learn words, you learn more words, your vocabulary expands, you understand concepts. And so same thing with using a technology like this. When you first start off, you ask a question and it responds and you go, well, that's kind of crappy. It didn't tell me anything. It didn't give me an answer that I can really use. And so you revise it and you re-enter and you hit return and you get another response. And maybe this time, instead of 35%, it gives you, sort of a 58 or 60% response. And you go, okay, better, but still not quite there. And so it's an iterative process where we're all being tasked to get better at being able to feed this technology a question, a prompt, information, so that it will give us a better answer. And also, ChatGPT is iterative by nature. It's learning as we enter prompts, and then it cues us and says, hey, how was that answer? And we say better, worse, or the same. As we answer that, it starts to learn from its responses and is able to give better answers based on what we're looking for. So it starts to clue in and cue into our personality, which is, Kevin, I have to say, you probably didn't stick with it long enough for it to get you, right?
It's a common complaint. That's what my ex-wife used to say.
Really? Was your ex-wife, was she a programmer?
No, I can't tell you what she was something. I can tell you that. I'm not allowed. The court doesn't allow me to talk about her.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's talk a second about the past, and let's go farther back in the past than your ex-wife. Okay, let's talk about the year. I think it was 1455 when the Gutenberg press was invented. Now, prior to the printing press, there were all these folks telling stories known as the oral tradition. You had bards and mimes and minstrels and court jesters, and you had folks singing stories and expanding stories out on the street square, and all these people, when the book came out, they all flipped. They went, oh my God, I'm done, right? Everyone can now read what I'm talking about. The stories that I'm imparting, they can now just read it in a book. I'm done. I might as well hang it up. And contrary to that statement, what happened? Well, 600 some odd years later, right? Think of how many ways there are to tell stories other than just the book, right? We've got movies, we've got TV shows, we've got TikTok, we've got Instagram videos, we've got podcasts. I mean, who ever thought that so many people would be listening to podcasts? Once all these videos came out on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, I mean, everyone thought, oh, audio by itself is dead, right? But look at how popular podcasts are. And part of that is because they're based on story and storytelling. And so if we think about now, think about how many more ways there are to make a living: singer-songwriter, stand-up comedian, performance artist, all these possibilities that in 1455, when the book first came out, everyone thought it's done. The book is going to replace everything, all sort of live performance. And it's actually not done the opposite, but it's expanded the possibilities for performance, for story, for discussion, and all that comes with it. And so, there may be folks whose jobs fall to the wayside as ChatGPT and AI expand and move forward. But they're going to create all sorts of incredible jobs that we've never even thought of before. Prompt engineer, right? I mean, whoever thought? But like the internet and computers, all sorts of jobs are going to come up and out of this. So the folks who are really scared about losing their jobs, just take a deep breath. Let's take a collective deep breath, right? And just read ChatGPT Simplified, which goes into using this technology creatively, how to expand and enhance your creativity, your individualism, your originality in ways that, again, you never imagined possible. ChatGPT is essentially a room full of brainstormers in a box. When I type in a response or a prompt into ChatGPT, before I hit return, I've got a musician, a philosopher, a scientist, a mathematician. I mean, I've got all these folks that are wrapped up in this technology, just chomping at the bit to help me figure out what my solution to my problem. And so I think that the folks who are thinking about this in a fatalistic way are, they're turning inwards and they're freaking out. Well, just take a deep breath and think about other inventions, the book, the computer, internet, and how that has expanded the possibilities of life, work, health, happiness. And AI it's no different. It's gonna, it will put out some people out of work, but the majority of folks will find ways to work within the parameters of ChatGPT and AI, and also may find ways that they never contemplated of work before.
Well, this has been going on for a very long time. And in fact, when the Gutenberg press came out and the Bible was the first book that was printed, the priest said, "Oh, crap, we're out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to want to come to church anymore because they can just pick up this book and they've got everything that I'm talking about." Well, it didn't harm the churches at all. In fact, if you've ever gone to Rome, you can see that the Vatican is doing very fine. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. And it looks like we just lost Mitch. I was just going to make a point about how it gave the priests a new lease on life, because people want to go and hear folks tell stories. Yes. In fact, I don't know if you all can see back there, there's a painting behind me. Hello, Mitch. I was just saying that true to your point before, there's something to a live performance. And now, did I lose you all, or did I just go?
No, we're still here.
Okay, great.
We're still here.
There's something to a live performance. Or, for instance, this behind me is a painting that my daughter created. She's a painter, and so it was created by an actual human being as opposed to AI. And there's something to a creation that was created by a human being. Listen, I don't know if you guys have been getting emails that have obviously been created by AI and ChatGPT, but I get them all the time. And I don't know about you, but I can tell, right? When I start reading an email, I can tell that was written by ChatGPT. I mean, it's so painfully obvious to me. And sure, it's going to get better, but there's no substitute for a human being playing a song, or a human being performing actually on stage, or a human being performing in a movie. Think about how many movies we watch and these big CGI action sequences come on, and you sort of go, okay, I'm going with it intellectually. I understand what they're doing, but come on, those aren't real people. I can tell that they're not real people. And there's just something about it that it takes you out, right? It takes you out of the movie, out of the book. There's a concept called narrative transport. Have either of you guys heard of narrative transport?
I have not.
So it's the main concept behind why storytelling works. Narrative transport is, so I'm reading my favorite book, or I'm listening to my favorite music, or a TV show or movie, and I'm at home and I got a pizza in the oven. All of a sudden, the buzzer goes off, the pizza's burning, there's someone knocking on the door trying to deliver a package, and it all just falls away because I'm so absorbed in my book or my song or my video that I don't realize what's happening, right? I've been sucked in and I've been transported. So that is narrative transport. And ultimately, as storytellers, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to transport our audience. Now, our audience may be one person. We may be out at lunch with a friend and they say, hey, what'd you do this weekend? We tell them a fun story about some crazy thing that went down. That may be just one person. Or we may be talking to a group of 200 or 300 people at an event, or some sort of a charity event. And the story, if we're successful, we just suck those people into our story and they're transported to another time, another place with these characters that they're getting to know. And they forget to check their email, check their texts. They forget that they've got another meeting or another workshop after that. And ideally, that's what we want to do when we're telling stories. And this new technology can help us get there by helping us hone our creativity, hone the stories, and give us ideas for things that we really hadn't contemplated before.
So it's not that it takes the place of your imagination, it enhances your imagination.
Exactly. Ideally, that's what I hope is happening, instead of simply replacing a writer. I hope that a producer is never able to say, okay, we want a new script for The Big Bang Theory, and ready, set, go, and it spits it out. You want someone to have toiled over a script. You want it to have a connection to real life. Again, it goes back to what Mitch was saying, that we want to be watching, listening to, reading something that has been produced by a human that has an experience, right? There's a shared experience that you can't get with simply a computer.
Interesting. By the way, we're talking with Mr. Richard Rosser. We need to take a break real quick, but when we come back, he's written the book Chat GPT Simplified. And when we come back, I'm going to ask Mitch a couple of questions, because we're talking about the changes in things that used to be commonplace that are no longer commonplace, and that's going to continue on. And so when we come back, I'd like him to be able to tell me, first of all, what is a photomat? One. And the second one, how many blockbusters were there nationwide at its height? And how many are there today? We'll be he's going to go to ChatGPT and look that up right now. So anyway, we need to take a quick break. You're listening to Negative Talk Radio. No, that's not right. Positive Talk Radio on KKNW 1150 AM, and we'll be right back after these messages. Hey, PTR loyal listener. First, thanks for being in my dream. And second, I have a new concept in business to share with you. It's called socialpreneurship. So, what's that? Well, it's the idea that any company designates all profits, beyond expenses, to be awarded to a local or international charity or project which is working to achieve good in the world. KM Media is such a company. We believe that it's important for us to give back whenever possible and to make great things happen. So I hope you'll join us in creating this new business model that will positively impact all of us. In the next few weeks, we will lay out the plan and begin our fundraising efforts. So stay tuned for more details right here on Positive Talk Radio.
When you want to say more than words communicate, You can with flowers. Your custom boutique floral studio in Bothell, Washington is anaturaldesign.com, connecting you to nature through the language of flowers. Where your people are is where our flowers are beautiful. Your success is our goal. anaturaldesign.com at your fingertips today.
Hey, thanks for listening to Positive Talk Radio. Did you know that we're also a media production company? Well, surprise, we are. We can create all kinds of audio, video products to fill any need. Please visit kmmedia.pro/our-store for a complete list of products and services. In addition, do you need a great voice to add to your own website or any other project? I know that we can add depth and quality to your work. I've been told more times than I can count by many professionals in the business that my voice adds to the quality of the presentation. So let me create something for you. Please contact me at kevin@kmmedia.pro and let's create something great. And welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. You're listening to KKNW. Mitch Parfit is with me, and Richard Rosser. He's written the book ChatGPT Simplified. And I got a couple other ones for you, Mitch. Did you know that there used to be a guy that went door to door, and he was called the Fuller Brush Man? That no longer exists. There also used to be another guy who used to sell Britannica encyclopedias door to door, and that went by the wayside. So we continue to evolve, we continue to change. But did you ever hear of a thing called Photomat?
No, I've not heard of Photomat.
Photomat. Well, Richard, go ahead and tell him.
Photomat was this little booth in parking lots of strip malls. You'd pull up, you'd hand them a roll of film that you just shot on your camera. You drive away, and well, in the beginning, I think it was like a week, and then it went down to 3 days, and then it was a day, and then it was 1 hour photo, a moto photo, so it got progressively. The time of developing and printing the film got much shorter and shorter. But basically, they'd call you or whatever when your film was done, and you'd pull back up, go to the window, pay them, and you get your photos back. That was Photomat.
So I used to get film. I remember, you used to snap pictures and take film, but I would I was dropping it off at like a Walgreens or a Bartell's or something like that, or a 1 hour photo. They used to, I think came a little bit later, but I'm not familiar with, the drive up that you're talking about. That sounds pretty cool.
There were literally thousands of them across the country, there were Blockbuster Video. There were, I think, 15 or 1,700 of those stores nationally. And by the way, those went away, but we're still here. So I guess change can be a good thing.
That's right. What happened to technology? Technology went to the wayside, but human beings are still here. That's so right, Kevin.
So you don't be afraid. It's going to be okay.
That's right.
And we're talking to an expert in the field, and he can help us, and he can help you understand a little bit more about how to make technology work for you, not against you. Matt, do you have a question for Richard?
You mean Mitch?
What did I call you? Did I call you Matt? It's hot in here.
Matt. I thought we had another person on the show that I didn't know about.
I'm sorry, it's hot in here. Mitch?
No, I don't know that. I don't know that I have a question or anything. I think ChatGPT, I've played around with it a little bit. I think it's pretty fascinating, all the different things that you can do. And you reminded me earlier, the prompts thing, how you can really kind of make it into something that is a little bit more you, based on the prompts that you used. I know I'd first played around with it when I had a friend and client of mine that was a real estate agent, or still is, and gave the example for people that, when they put homes listings on the MLS and they are giving a description of the house, and using ChatGPT for that, and how you could say, I want to write, about this house. You can give it all the different prompts, and you can say, I want to do it like I'm from the South, I want to do it like I'm from Brooklyn, or I want to do it from wherever it may be. And it was pretty cool to play around with it and see the same dynamic, just changing the prompt of what part of the US or what part of the world it was coming from and what that would sound like. And it was using obviously slang or verbiage that was, native to that area or whatever that was talked about. And I think it was really cool. So I look at it to tying back to what we said earlier too. I mean, I know that there's a lot of fear around it, but there's been a lot of fear around a lot of things that we've, when the internet came about and when new technology, we started to go digital, and we had all this, paper companies that were printing, and people thought that we would never print
Dunder
books.
Mifflin. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of fear when Dunder Mifflin came out.
Exactly. And I think that, with that, there is a part of it. A lot of people don't like change. But when it's happening, there's nothing really you can do about it. It's here, like this ChatGPT AI is here to stay. It's only going to get progressively more involved in a lot of our everyday lives. So my thought process, and not everybody has it, is, but well, how do I utilize it? And how do I use it to help me continue doing whatever it is that I'm doing and not taking away my job? And maybe it is a job, or, specifically that, it's slowly phasing out, and that's just how life kind of goes. But you can be ahead of the game, and you can do certain things to kind of help keep yourself in the same realm of what you were doing and help yourself. But you can't be scared. And that's where I think that this book that Richard's written, ChatGPT Simplified, non-tech beginners, because there's a lot of people out there. That's the excuse you hear, right, Richard?
Oh, yeah.
I don't do good with technology. I can barely use my phone. I don't, this and that. And well, you can either embrace it or, try to shun it. But like I said, it's just going to continue to grow. And a book like this that Richard's written, I think is great, because it's going to help somebody to be able to understand it and maybe help them be able to utilize it. That's going to, help them to continue to grow in whatever it is that they're doing. So I think it's great, Richard. I'm really excited. I'm having a great time talking to you, and I look forward to continuing to learn more about it as we continue the conversation.
All right. Are you guys ready to get meta with me?
Let's get meta.
All right, let's get meta.
Is meta like Skynet? Is that like the new Skynet?
No,
meta
it's
now?
the opposite of Skynet. So think about this for a second, right? ChatGPT is one of the few things that comes with its own, it can create its own instruction manual. Okay, so think about this for a second. You buy a microwave, and you get it home, and you're trying to figure out how to program the thing to make, warm up some soup. And you go, okay, this isn't working right. And you open up the paper instruction manual, or you could open it up on your phone or tablet, right? If you're a little bit technologically minded. But ChatGPT, if you run up against an issue, a challenge, a problem, you can actually enter a prompt that says, hey, ChatGPT, how can I overcome this problem, this issue, this challenge? And it will actually answer you. It will give you an answer. So for those of you who are out there freaking out that ChatGPT is going to take your job, you can use it to get back at itself. You can type in, hey, ChatGPT, what can I do to expand my client base, to expand my customer base, to become a better graphic designer, to become to market my podcast? You can actually ask it questions like that, and it will come back with, again, sometimes it's going to have some crap, right? But for the most part, it's going to come back with some really interesting stuff. And then you can dive in. Say, for instance, you say, hey, give me a response to this, and outline it in bullet point format. Well, you can say, okay, let me take this bullet point and let's dive in a little bit deeper on that. So you can actually use this technology to help you figure out a way to combat it possibly taking away portions or part of your job, which is really, really interesting, I find.
I got a couple questions for you. First of all, would be what Mitch said, that you can make them like, if they're from Brooklyn and they're selling a house, you can make it like, hey, yo, dude, you need to come over to the house and look at the crypt because it's the best crypt in the world and you need to buy it there. You can do that, or hi there, you need to come down here and talk to us about our little home. You'll just love it. And so, but I want,
It's
sorry,
true.
I want, I
You
wanted
can,
to,
Kevin.
huh?
I said you can.
Wow, cool. I wanted to run this by you. We talked earlier in the show about how negative sells. And I wanted to run the GP. What would I do if, I don't know. Let's pretend I have a show and it's called Positive Talk Radio. How do I make that show as popular as the negative? The world is ending tomorrow because of this political guy or this. How do I make that as popular as that? How would they frame that question to GPT?
Well, I think you could frame it just like you did.
I think
Kevin?
you just did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, let me get my phone out here. Yeah. So it's as simple as that.
Yeah. And it'll give you an answer and you could say, no, I don't like that answer.
Right.
And you can try it again and it'll change it. And you say, okay, that's a little bit better. Because it'll ask you when you're done. It'll at the bottom will say, was this helpful? Yes, no.
Mhm.
So it's not just an end all, like it's going to give you an answer and that's that. So it's more well, I don't want to use the word complicated because we're talking about simplified, but
That's right.
yeah. So you can make it as complex as you'd like.
Well, and Kevin, you talked before about when you dove in and were using ChatGPT a bit, and you said, yeah, it really wasn't coming back with responses like I thought it would, right? And that's another really cool thing about this technology is you can get very, very specific if you're looking for a very specific answer, or you can ask it an open-ended question. And let's take this positive negative sort of flip twist thing and think about how you might phrase a question or a prompt for ChatGPT. Now, if you say, hey, I have a radio show and podcast called Positive Talk Radio, but I've noticed that negativity sells in mass media and Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. How could I use the fact that negativity sells even though my show is called Positive Talk Radio? And it's going to give you a really interesting response. And I guarantee you that most of what it's going to return in its generated response, you will not have thought of. And that's one of the beauties of this technology, because it's taking into account all the studies and the research and all the articles that have been written about this negativity on Facebook and Instagram, talk radio, and it's going to take that and figure out how it could utilize those to make your show more interesting, more sticky, more go viral. So then you might even say, should I rename my show? And if so, what should I call it? And see what it comes up with. And it's going to come up with some stuff, and you're going to go, no, I'm just going to keep it Positive Talk Radio, because ultimately what you're doing is fantastic, right? And this goes back to what Mitch was talking about before, I think it's easy to be negative and to get negative, right? With all the conspiracy theories and all this, the stuff that's going on. But to actually dive in and explore positivity and explore how that can help us be better people, better friends, better husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. That is the humanistic part of the response. And that's what we bring to the picture, as opposed to, we hear about Russian bot farms and, all these bots that are taking over, and they're not verified on Twitter or whatever. And sure enough, they are reducing society to this insanely disgusting, melee of negative garbage, to go on a little bit of a rant there for a second. And I think there's something to be said for what you are doing with this show and the kinds of folks that you bring on, that you interview, and the approach that you're going for. And so within what you're trying to do, it's important to keep that feel and flavor in your prompt, so that ChatGPT responds to your prompt in a way that can help you make your show better, while you may be able to get some audience that may not have normally listened to come and check it out.
So what you're trying to do is to get positive feedback from GPT rather than to have it say, "Oh, sorry, pal, no friggin' way. You might as well just trash it and throw it away." 'Cause
Right.
it's never going to sell any soap. So it's I hope it's Mitch, will you buy some soap?
It'd have to be some pretty good soap, Kevin.
By the way, we're talking with Richard Rosser, and he's written the book ChatGPT Simplified. Get it, and you can get it anywhere, right?
You can get it anywhere, as long as anywhere is Amazon, which pains me to no end.
Well, that's if you are a Fuller Brush man, that's where you are now, is on Amazon.
That's right. That's right. So true.
So if you go to Amazon, you can pick it up, or if you want to go to your website, you've got a free book there that people can download and talk about that a little bit.
Well, so if you go to my website, it's aiexplained.ai, and there's a link to the book we've been talking about, ChatGPT Simplified. But I also have another book, which is ChatGPT Case Studies. And that's a free download. And so what I've found in my experience and doing workshops and seminars and talking to folks is that it's one thing to read about something, but it's another to read about how other people have utilized technology, books, movies, the internet, and see how they've utilized that, and then figure out, oh, well, if they used it in this way, maybe I can use it in that way, or a little, tweak it a little bit and use it for my own purposes. So the ChatGPT case studies really dives into startups, entrepreneurs, freelancers, small businesses, and how they utilize ChatGPT and AI to really streamline work processes and create incredible content that really expresses them and their product or service.
Now, I drove a bus for 12 years, and I wanted to just to get you to kind of relay or delay some of the fears that the bus drivers have, that they're going to be outsourced and it's going to be a driverless thing. Their job may change a little bit, and they may require different expertise and some trainings on how to do it, but they're still going to be around, I would think, in some manner.
Absolutely. And I've read many articles on AI controlled vehicles, and we're still a ways off. I mean, there's still some things that have to be ironed out before every single car and every single truck is going to be driven by a computer. And part of that is just the economy of scale of ramping up to the point where you don't need any drivers anymore. It's going to take a while. But that doesn't mean that the folks who are driving buses or trucks right now, they can figure out, again, if you're afraid that this technology is going to replace you or will replace part of your job, use it against itself, right? It's almost like going on Skynet and saying, hey, how can I put you down, right? You can go on a ChatGPT and ask it, hey, I'm a bus driver or a truck driver. What can I do to expand my world of possibilities, given what you know about what's coming down the pike with regard to AI? And again, there are some incredible opportunities coming up in terms of being able to use this technology to figure out how you can go outside the box, think outside the box. And that's one of the main things that I point out to all the folks that I work with, teaching workshops, seminars, and working as a consultant, is you can use this technology to help heighten and enhance your own creativity and think outside the box in ways that you never thought of thinking outside the box before.
Does that mean that everybody can now be a Pulitzer Prize winning writer or a poet or a songwriter or all of that just by pressing a button? Or is the humanity still going to be involved with it?
I think the humanities, it has to be involved. I mean, think about, again, go back to movies and you watch some of these sequences, and you know that they're created with CGI, and you're going, okay, I understand the spaceship or whatever's happening on screen. I understand intellectually what is going on there, but I'm not being sucked in. Compare that to Jaws, where Bruce the shark broke, and they planned on, Steven Spielberg had planned on using Bruce the shark way more than they ended up using him in the final movie. And think about those actors and the music and the cinematography and how that creates this incredibly just freaky, scary sensation about this shark. And you're not seeing the shark. You're experiencing the shark. And so it really goes back to, when I talk to folks about creating captivating and compelling stories, it's because the stories, they need to be steeped and embedded with emotion. And if you tell a story that has details and emotion, you're going to get your audience to go along that ride on the narrative transport. And, I don't think, at least certainly we're not there yet with AI and ChatGPT, with the ability for it to sort of work on its own. It still needs that human interaction. And again, it's great for brainstorming. It's great for getting the creative juices flowing for us humans, but it's certainly not replacing us. And it can't replace the just the simplicity of conveying an emotion.
That is so true. Mitch, I know you're a movie guy. And I know you're probably very familiar with Jaws. I tell you, when I saw that movie, I went to an Olympic-sized swimming pool and was swimming in. I knew that it was a pool that had no fish in it, and I still heard the music in the. And I almost got out of the pool because it's like something's gonna eat me. And by the way, Mitch is working on his own podcast, so it will involve movies amongst other things.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
So I know that you've watched that, or you know of that movie, Mitch.
Oh, of course, yeah. All the good clay. We're going to need a bigger boat. So I mean, there's all kinds of great classics like that I grew up on, and I like being able to see them from the beginning, from what was, how movies were done, kind of like even what Richard was saying when we talked about Bruce and stuff like that. And, now we got movies like The Meg and, with Jason Statham, lots of CGI and all kinds of things, totally different dynamics. I appreciate both for different types of things, but there's a beginning, and seeing it transition as time goes on is pretty exciting to me.
See, and that's another industry that's gone by the wayside. I saw Jaws, I hate to say this, in 1977 in a drive-in movie theater.
Oh, wow.
For those of you under 40, you have no earthly idea what a drive-in movie theater was. But you can go look it up. We don't have time. Richard, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And I want to give you a moment to tell our audience anything that we haven't covered here about the book, about what you're doing, and about how to reach you so that you can help them help themselves.
Really, I just say, put on your explorer's hat. Indiana Jones, put on that hat and get ready to explore, because ChatGPT, I know it seems intimidating. I know it seems, you're intimidated and fearful that it might replace you, but there's also an exciting anxiousness, right? And so explore this technology, go on, and don't try to, in the beginning, don't try to do work, right? Just go on and like Mitch was talking, type in something about, what were we talking about? Real estate and in different voices. I asked it to write a short story about finding a dog, like 50 words. And then I asked it to rewrite it in Shakespeare's style. And then Edgar Allan Poe and J.K. Rowling and Hunter S. Thompson, right? And so explore with this and figure out. And then if you're wondering what it can do to help you personally, then ask it. If you've got an issue or a challenge or a problem, ask ChatGPT, hey, how can you help me solve this? And it's going to give you some information that, like I said before, some of it may be total crap, some of it may be mediocre, but some of it may be gems, right? That you can take away and implement either in your professional or personal life. So it's a technology, it's a tool that you can use. And if you want to learn how to use it a little bit better, you can check out my book, which is ChatGPT Simplified. Again, it's on Amazon, or you can go to aiexplained.ai and
Richard,
have fun with it.
Yes, indeed. Richard Rosser's been our guest. We're out of time. Mitch, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And have a great day, everybody. And by the way, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. We'll see you Friday.
Okay.